A wedding. It's supposed to be a new beginning, a day of pure joy. But for some people, it becomes an end. It's the final battle in a war they never even knew they were fighting. And look, we're not talking about arguments over the seating chart or the wrong shade of flowers. This is an explainer on a pattern of calculated, high-stakes sabotage, planned by the one group you're supposed to be able to trust no matter what, your own family. We are diving deep into the dark heart of family envy, where wedding day can start to look a lot like a crime scene.
Okay, just let that sink in for a second. That's a direct quote from a bride, and it tells you everything you need to know. This is not about normal drama, this is about strategy. That cake didn't get destroyed by accident. No, it was the centerpiece of a meticulously planned attack. An attack that backfired with the kind of poetic justice you usually only see in the movies. So, how on earth does a family celebration get to a point of such complete and ultimately satisfying destruction?
Well, the first thing you have to understand is that these betrayals are never random. It's like they're all reading from the same toxic playbook. This isn't just random cruelty. It is a series of calculated moves that all come from this pathological envy and a desperate, suffocating need to be in control. It's a full-on campaign designed to break the bride long before she ever gets a chance to walk down that aisle.
So at the very core of all this behavior is a psychological trigger called narcissistic injury. You see, for a narcissist, the world is their stage, and they have to be the star. So when their sense of being the most important person in the room is threatened, and what's a bigger threat than the bride getting her one day in the spotlight? They react with this intense, hidden rage. To them, the bride being the center of attention isn't something to celebrate. It feels like a personal attack on their ego, and trust me, they will do anything to get that spotlight back on them. The attacks almost always fall into three main categories. Let's call it the Sabotage Trinity. First up, you've got financial control, where money isn't a gift, it's a weapon. It's a leash. Second, spotlight hijacking, where they literally create chaos just to make themselves the main character in somebody else's story. And third, and maybe the most insidious, is character assassination, which is this quiet, systematic campaign to ruin the bride's reputation and cut her off from anyone who might be on her side. Let's start with financial control, and a single, absolutely staggering number: $76,000. Now, that's not the budget for some lavish wedding. No, that is the amount on a venue contract that a bride's family secretly signed in her name, completely without her knowledge or her consent. You see, this wasn't some generous gesture. It was a cage. By forging her signature, they trapped her with crippling debt, they intentionally wrecked her credit score, and then they had the nerve to call her ungrateful when she found out about the fraud. I mean, this is a masterclass in financial abuse. It's a trap designed to keep her dependent, powerless, and honestly, just too broken to fight back. Next up, spotlight hijacking. This quote is from a mother calmly explaining to her daughter why her other sister should be a co-bride. I mean, seriously, it is a perfect example of gaslighting. They take this completely absurd, unheard of demand and they present it as some kind of new trend. Then their financial gift is revealed for what it really is. It's not a gift, it's leverage. The goal here is simple: water down the bride's importance and make sure she never, ever gets a day that is 100% hers. And this just perfectly illustrates that final tactic: character assassination. So after the family successfully manipulates a wedding gift, a car, away from the bride and gives it to the favorite sister, they immediately launch a public GoFundMe campaign. And just look at the story they cooked up: a tale of a poor, betrayed sister and a greedy, selfish bride. They turned public sympathy into a weapon, making the victim into the villain, and isolating the couple from their own community. It is a lie specifically designed to make them socially bankrupt. Now, when you're facing this level of coordinated betrayal, it's so easy to imagine just collapsing. But in these stories, there's always a crucial turning point. The bride stops being a pawn in their game and becomes a player. She puts her grief on a shelf and turns into a strategist. This is the pivot, the moment she shifts from emotional reaction to cold, methodical documentation. She is faced with this deep, terrifying question: how do you fight a war that nobody else can even see? I mean, the family's abuse is so expertly disguised as concern. Their sabotage is just written off as a series of unfortunate misunderstandings. Arguing with them is useless. That's exactly what they want, so they can make her look hysterical. She realizes she needs a new weapon, one they can't twist or deny: cold, hard evidence. And so, the counter-offensive begins. It is silent, it is meticulous, and it is absolutely brilliant. She creates a forensic timeline of every single lie, every threat,
every broken promise. She screenshots every manipulative text message and saves every backhanded social media post. She tracks the money, creating this undeniable record of their abuse. And, this is the most important part, she maintains a calm, cooperative silence. She plays the part, letting her family think their plan is working, all while she's building an airtight case against them.
This timeline just shows you how quickly their whole campaign escalates in those final weeks. Just take a look at the pattern. Each action is bolder than the last, all designed to push her closer and closer to the edge. But what they don't know is that with every single move, they're just handing her another piece of evidence. The stolen designs, the accidental hot mic confession, the fake invitation, it's all going into the file. That final ultimatum, that's not a checkmate, that is them confidently walking right into her trap.
And that brings us to the climax, the public reckoning. All that silent documentation, all that patient planning, it all leads to the one moment they never ever saw coming. The moment the truth gets brought into the light, not in some quiet courtroom, but in the most public place you can imagine, the very wedding they tried so desperately to destroy. Now, what's so incredible about this slide is you can feel the power shift. This is from a bride's toast. After her mother made this grand speech announcing a totally fake $15,000 gift, the bride calmly took the microphone, and with this one sentence, she didn't just correct the record. She exposed the transactional, conditional nature of their so-called love and seized control of the entire narrative, right there in front of everyone they were trying to impress. You see, her case wasn't built on emotion. It was an indictment built on pure facts. Just look at this comparison. For every public lie they threw at her, she had an undeniable, documented counter. Their claims that she was selfish, she had financial records showing years of her supporting them. Their gaslighting about it all being a misunderstanding, totally shattered by a recorded confession. Their entire carefully built story just collapsed like a house of cards against her mountain of evidence. In one of the most chilling stories, the sabotage went from just malicious to straight-up criminal. The plan was sickeningly simple. A sister was going to drug the bride's champagne to make her look drunk and unstable during her speech. But the bride, who had been documenting weeks of their hostility, she saw it coming. She anticipated a plot. She swapped the glasses. So after the sister gave a sickly sweet toast and downed the drugged champagne herself, her slurred, rambling confession to the entire plot was captured on a hot mic for everyone to hear. And who heard that confession echo through the reception hall? 300 witnesses, 300 friends, colleagues, and family members who heard her admit, in her own words, to a felony. You see, the public humiliation was not part of the bride's plan. It was a direct consequence of their own. They set a public trap for her, and in the end, they were the ones who fell right into it, in front of every single person whose opinion they cared about. The fallout from these public reckonings is swift. It's brutal, and it's total. But it is so crucial to understand this isn't about the bride seeking revenge. It's about a family finally being forced to face the inevitable, natural consequences of their own actions. It's the cold, impartial math of justice. Their most prized possession was never their daughter. It was their image, their social capital. This chart is basically a picture of what happens when the truth comes out. The family that spent decades building this perfect facade of generosity saw it just evaporate in a single evening. The respect they demanded was replaced by whispered suspicion and, eventually, outright disgust. And the consequences weren't just social. They were tangible and they were catastrophic. Banks, hearing about financial fraud, pulled their loans. Community organizations, seeing the character assassination campaigns, revoked legacy awards. In one case, guests actually filed a class action lawsuit. The golden child's sister, once completely untouchable, suddenly found her professional reputation in tatters. They lost the only things they ever actually valued: money, status, and control. This quote from a bride to her father as he was literally being escorted out by security, it just perfectly captures the theme of the aftermath. She didn't destroy their lives, she just held up a mirror, took herself out of the picture, and let gravity do the rest. So, here's the crucial point. The end goal was never their destruction. The real victory, the ultimate prize she had been fighting for this whole time, was something so much more profound. It was freedom. Freedom from the constant manipulation, from the endless gaslighting, from a whole lifetime of being made to feel like a supporting character in her own story. It was the quiet, unshakable peace of knowing that the war was finally over. And that leaves us with this final thought.
The truest victory isn't in watching your abusers fall. Honestly, that's just a byproduct. The real revenge is building a beautiful, impenetrable life, a fortress of peace and happiness completely free from their influence. It's the conscious choice to build a future so bright it doesn't cast any shadows from the past. It's realizing that the best response to their toxic world is to create a new one of your very own, where you are finally and forever the main character.